Easy come, easy go.
Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar. Today's topic is the opportunities and challenges of venture DAOs in Web3. My name is Eugene, representing Cipholio Ventures, and I'll be the host of today. It's a great honor to have Poseidon, the founder of Outliers DAO, and Jenn, a core member of Syndicate DAO, to be the speakers of this webinar. So before it starts, let me give a brief introduction to Cipholio and our fellow partners. So Cipholio Ventures is a research-driven investment firm specializing in cryptocurrencies, tokens, and blockchain projects that have the potential to reshape the trillion-dollar markets. We serve as a bridge to connect people, technology, and capital in the decentralized world. We aim to seek opportunities in Web3, DeFi, GameFi, Metaverse, and Layer 2 based on our deep understanding of the industry and data-driven decisions. So many thanks to those that gave continuous support to our webinar. Shout out to Bitmart Exchange, Johns Hopkins Alumni Association, NYU Violet Venture Club, Outliers VC DAO, Alpha Crew Official, OXO Crypto DAO, Web3 Hitchhiker, as well as PA News. So Cipholio is now open for deal flow sharing. We will occasionally publish information on primary market investment opportunities, and we welcome all interested institutional investors to fill in the form in the chat box below. So we will contact you after the webinar if you think you are a good fit. We are also actively looking for talents to join us as a member of our portfolios team. So please send us your info to jimmy@cipholio.com if you're interested. Here we have 4 companies. The first one would be DeFi, a DeFi visualization tool. They are hiring a senior backend developer. Second would be Reef Finance, a DAO liquidity aggregation protocol, and they are hiring a backend engineer as well as a Solidity engineer. The third would be Aperture Finance, a multi-chain risk neutral policy protocol, and they are hiring a product manager. Lastly, it would be C14.money. It's an American fiat payment company, and they are hiring a crypto native business development as well as operations.
Okay, so this is Outliers. We have a lot of names. On Syndicate, we are called Outliers VC DAO, in short for OVC. We currently call ourselves just Outliers because our fund is called Outliers Fund 1, 2, 3, and our incubation program is called Outliers Lab 1, Lab 2. But most recently, we have expanded to become an extended community of venture DAO, including not only us, the full-time team members of Outliers, but also with our portfolio founders, limited partners, venture partners, and ecosystem partners. And as mentioned, back in 2016, when we were students at the MIT, the story begins when we took a course called Science Fiction Prototyping. It was still my all-time favorite course at MIT and all the other universities. That course inspired us to spend the first 7 weeks on getting inspired from co-reading sci-fi novels, co-watching sci-fi movies, TV series, and the rest of the 7 weeks trying to turn as many sci-fi inspirations into scientific prototypings or demos at the final event. And throughout 2016 to 2019, we have a lot of students' final project got acquired by Disney Research, Google X, or join Singularity University Y Combinator directly as a student spin-off startups with patents and IP brought directly from MIT. And I was very inspired by this course, but always found it a pity that after the 14 weeks course, most students and professor will dismiss the Slack, and the chat groups become very inactive. So I started a Slack to collect these radical minds, solid hands, and students with unique stories. And I named it as Outliers at the first place, just because I didn't know what and how to summarize these very creative students. And starting from 2016, 2017, we realized many of our classmates, roommates, went on to become a technological driven entrepreneurs, but we were very struggle with the SEC regulation of having this 1 million accredited investor bar. It is actually, after so many years, I still find it very contradicting with inclusive innovation and democratizing venture capital. Not sure if most of you know that SEC is even planning to raise this bar from 1 million to 10 million this year, meaning that you need to somehow showcase that you are having 10 million over net worth assets or having a consistent over 200K revenue stream as a family or as an individual in order to support private VC, PE, or technological ventures, which is very, very much in the opposite route of actually having everyone to on the same mission on democratizing venture capital. So we took a lead as a students trying to support each other by passing this SEC law to invest each other using Ethereum. And that exposed us directly to almost 1,000 white papers, tokenomics, and smart contracts from a lot of Web3 blockchain ventures. And we sent out over 1,000 cold emails to a lot of these Web3 ventures in the United States and outside of the United States. And luckily, there were 160 Web3 ventures replied to my email back in 2017, asking us if we can help them draft their next generation white papers, tokenomics, or help them even look into their smart contracts, doing such smart contract security audits before most of the professional auditing firms emerge. And finally, from these 880 white papers, narrowing down into the 160 we have collaborated and interacted with, we decided to use a collective scoring matrix on scoring all these projects into 43 different dimensions and picked 32 on syndicating a small fund, which was just 2 million back in MIT. There were 20 LPs, each committed 100K. They're at the average age of 21 years old. And myself, as a solo GP, not because I was experienced about blockchain, crypto, and Web3 ventures. Honestly, I've never done any professional investment. I've not interned at any VCP, but purely because this community and Slack was created by me as an admin. So back in 2018, we exited our fund one. And luckily, this became a 16x return within around 6 to 7 quarters until 2018, which the 21 students, including myself, all decided to drop out from MIT and move to the Bay Area. We emerged to become several different hacker houses. For example, there are some of them having hacker houses featuring AI in downtown SF. Some of them are living in Berkeley, Stanford, and Jacob and I set up one near Palo Alto. That is also when we met Will Pepper, the co-founder of Syndicate. And this community has grown larger and naturally attract a lot of startup founders who are about to start their ventures in Web3 or already doing it consecutively. I again sent out letters to those 160 startups we are already interacting with, and they inspire me to set up Outliers Fund 2 as well as Outliers Lab 1 incubator program. We originally just planned to host a 2-day OKR kickoff bootcamp with them in Seattle, and it became a 6 months roadshow from Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Shanghai, Beijing, Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, to Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and back to San Francisco Blockchain Week for a final demo day. One of the startups that I'm most inspired from is called Prismatic Labs. Nowadays, people just call it Ethereum 2.0. Back then in 2018, Ethereum Foundation was having 5 different research grants for rewarding people that can create an Ethereum client on solving one of the 5 top level issues of Ethereum, including decentralization, security, scalability, gas fee being too high, and privacy. And this team of 2, including Preston and Roy Jordan, they found each other, met each other through GitHub, and they implement this Ethereum 2.0 client and scoring number 1 out of all the 5 research grants. So they got slightly over 2 million Ethereum Foundation grants at the first place. And people started to ask who are behind Prismatic Labs on Twitter. And one day, Preston and Roy Jordan showed up back in December 18th of 2018. This is still a very legendary, unforgettable post I've ever seen. Because Vitalik came from nowhere without knowing them, just sent 1,000 Ethereum and paste his Etherscan link as a proof. Within the 24 hours, there are hundreds of crypto native individuals, including myself, donate. Like, for example, I donate 5 Ethereum, and there are also hundreds of crypto native institutions who send out even more, including Outliers One, which sent out 50 Ethereum. And within 24 hours, they received another 1.8 million, at least, donations from the community, just purely on a Twitter thread. And so this team has expanded from 2 developers into 4, into 8 in the past 4+ years. This team has been very lean and has been working super hard, very far from everyone's imagination. The entire team of developers, most of them are Ethereum Foundation core developers now. Their lifestyle is that they need to sit on the same flight, book the same hotel with Vitalik all the time. When Vitalik went to Korea Blockchain Week or Ethereum Amsterdam or back in Ethereum San Francisco, they always need to fly with him. There was one time when I saw Vitalik was just 5 minutes away from going from the backstage to the front stage, giving a talk in front of 3,000 audience live in person. Like all of their team members of Prismatic Labs are still holding their laptops surrounding Vitalik as a mastermind to ask about how to debug for Ethereum 2.0. So in the past four plus years, they are finally coming to a major milestone this year on doing the Ethereum 2.0 merge. And I was very, very lucky to use Outliers Lab as an incubation program to work with this nonprofit team actually. And this incubation program exposed us to these initial 9 teams that we recruited at the first place, as well as 6 teams like Prismatic Labs. We found them on our Asia roadshow, and we end up deciding to invest the 6 of them, and all the way to 2021, which is last year, we exit the fund and raise a bigger fund 3. And this fund 3, we're luckily to be a strategic customer as well as an investor of Syndicate. And the biggest achievement of this year for Outliers is actually not raising our fund 3, nor anything about the fund and the lab, but actually it was inspired by our director of MIT Media Lab, Joe Ito, by end of last year, that he got on a catch-up call with me, and the first statement he made to me was that, hey, Poseidon, how come back in 5 to 6 years ago, when you're a student at the Media Lab, you run the special interest group on Slack? That was the time that Outliers is most like a DAO, before everyone is talking about DAO as a buzzword everywhere. How come after 5 to 6 years, you generally go from Outliers Fund 1, Fund 2, Fund 3, and to be more like an institutional VC? He thinks that it is still more special, more genuine as a community, and that is the essence of Outliers. So we took the first quarter of this year trying to transition back from an institutional VC back to more like a community-driven, decentralized VC. And it couldn't be possible without meeting Syndicate, because we deploy Outliers Fund 3 on Ethereum via Syndicate and onboard all of our limited partners to Syndicate. So right now, all of our investors, they call it limited partners of Outliers Fund 3, can have an information rights. Traditionally, it was quarterly report that every quarter, by end of every quarter, they will see their portfolio allocation and value via a report or an email that allows them to see what happened in the past 90 days. But right now, our information rights is almost in real time. Online, we have Syndicate as a dashboard for all of our limited partners to see all the native tokens, off-chain equity investments, as well as NFTs that we have invested on our dashboard on Syndicate. Also having a Discord, having all of our portfolio founders, limited partners, venture partners like Cipholio, and ecosystem partners like Divinity, Solana, Polkadot, all in a very tightly, slightly over 100 people Discord that they can meet each other, discuss directly with each other without going through Outliers as a minimum. And Discord and Syndicate, these two platforms, I think work very perfectly with each other. We also have Will Ian and Jenn from Syndicate in our Discord. So I'm not gonna steal too many time and secret on introducing Syndicate. I honestly can talk about Syndicate for a full day, but today we have Jenn from Syndicate. So I'm gonna transition it over to Jenn for a more detailed overview and introduction.
Thank you, Poseidon. That was amazing. This is a great segue to talk about Syndicate. I would say, Outliers DAO has been one of the best use cases that Syndicate has been able to support during our time. And we do want more of whatever Outliers DAO is doing across the world in different industry verticals and geographically as well. So just to reiterate a little bit about Syndicate, as I mentioned earlier, we are a decentralized investing protocol and social network. The company and the protocol came together after years of thinking and research done by Will and Ian, our founders, in terms of understanding what could be one of the best use cases for crypto in general. And they came to the realization that, the unique value prop of how Web3 is built or is being built is that there is the transaction aspect, which clearly defines how financial assets or financial products can be utilized and transferred and translated. As well as the social piece of it, where the decentralization nature of the technology brings so many different people together to do very many things, right? To accomplish a particular mission across the globe. So that being said, they wanted to create something where they can, as a team, as a company, we can, revolutionize investing. By changing how communities and capital work together on the internet through Web3 technologies. We deeply believe that investing will be decentralized, democratized, and community-driven within the next decade or so. And we are developing the Web3 protocols, tools, and infrastructure to enable this across the internet at scale. And a great example of this is how Outliers came to be and how they're operating and where they are heading. Our protocol, generally supports a lot of different investing vehicle, but one of our first product that we wanted to offer to the world is the idea of a Web3 investment club, where it can bring a group of people who want to pool their capital and make investments together in Web3 native ways. And when we talk about Web3 native ways, it could be Web3 assets done in a very Web3 native culture, right? We have a very different way of interacting with assets and communities. And we wanted to be able to take any wallet and turn it into a Web3 native, what we call investing DAO or an investment club, however you want to frame it. A few different use cases that we've been able to support so far is, a bunch of friends coming together wanting to buy NFTs or investing in equity in Web3 projects or tokens, publicly available tokens, or even tokens that have yet to be released, but have some form of a SAFT agreement or so. And we've been able to support use cases across different industry verticals. Like we've been able to support real estate assets, how you can potentially bring that on chain, or how do you record those transactions and such as well, which I can go into detail, when I do a bit of a demo of our product. A little bit about just the investment clubs is that it is a way for people to come together in a more casual setting to put a little bit of capital or towards how do you invest together, and how do you learn about investing. And this was very important to us because it enables the community aspect, and it substantially lowers the barrier to investing using Web3. And at least in the US, according to SEC's regulations and such, the investment clubs vehicle was created to enable people to come together on a more equal footing and invest together. And what that entails is there are a few restrictions within our jurisdiction where you can only have 99 members. You can, everyone has to have a say in the sort of activities that you do as a club. And, there are certain regulatory requirements in terms of how do you register an entity and what kind of assets you can invest in, what does that entail and such. And what this has allowed is for people to quickly spin up a club on our platform in less than 2 minutes, and I'll show you how to, in order to quickly start pooling capital and quickly start allocating that capital. And today, in order to do that, all you have to do is just pay gas fees. For those of you who have used the Ethereum network, all you have to do is just use Ethereum, pay the Ethereum gas fees, or if you want to use Polygon to reduce your costs, you can do so. It makes it a fraction of the cost in order to spin up these powerful clubs, right? And we also provide services where, at least within the US jurisdiction, you are able to create a legal entity and you get access to some legal documents that needs to be filled out as per the regulation requirements. And all of that is supplied within the app itself. Here, let me just quickly show you what it takes to actually create an investment club and how you, with your friends, can do it very quickly. Or, on the other end of the spectrum of use cases, you have, big investment firms like, venture capitalist firm wanting to allocate a portion of their capital to engage with the community and to invest in Web3 protocols, and they can come in and use the structure to start investing. So all you have to do as you go to our platform, app.syndicate.io, you will be prompted, to connect your wallet. I'm just going to quickly connect my public wallet here. And I have already created a club, but I will just walk you through how to create one. It usually gives you information around how much it generally costs you to create an on-chain club. Given the nature of the market and the demand right now, Ethereum gas costs are incredibly low, which means that it only takes you anywhere between like $13 to like maybe $20 to create a club. You can go ahead and choose to create one. This is the part where, the name of your club, and there's a token ticker for your club, and I'll explain to you what that token ticker means and what the tokens mean shortly. These two information is stored publicly on the Ethereum blockchain. And so here's a chance, if you do not want to disclose the information about your club, you can always randomize. We've got Million Shampoos as a name here. And what this token symbol means is it is an ERC20. It's a non-transferable token. And what this token represents is just your ownership share in the club. So for example, if me, Poseidon, and all of the people in this call were to create a club together, and I put 10,000 USDC, Poseidon puts in 50,000 USDC, I will get 10,000 club tokens, the non-transferable ERC20 tokens, in my Web3 wallet, and Poseidon will get 50,000. So the tokens that are received by the individuals, quote unquote, the members of the club or the investors in the club, receive a pro rata share of their deposit to the club tokens. I'm just going to go ahead with this. And our clubs can also be created either using USDC or ETH or any of the ERC20 tokens. You can bring in your own token as well. As if it is listed on a DEX or a public exchange, it becomes really easy to pull that information. You can go ahead and say, we want to create a club with just banned protocol tokens, and you have the capability to do that as well. Something to keep in mind here is that currently, once you choose a particular club deposit token, you can't quite change it. And you can't have multiple tokens flowing into the club as deposit, but you are able to invest in different tokens. That's a separate thing. I'm just going to go ahead and choose USDC for now. And in general, we set an upper limit. This is not a set limit. You can always change the upper limit here. This is just to, for yourself to like figure out, hey, how much do I want to raise for this club, right? Like I'm going to go ahead and say, be a little bit ambitious and say I can raise $1 million. And you also have the ability to set your deposit time. In most investing vehicles, you usually have a period in which you are receiving all of the deposits from the promised LPs or members or investors, right? So it's the same concept here. I'm going to set 3 months here. And what is the maximum number of members that we want to have? In this case, I would just go ahead and choose 99 because of US regulatory restrictions, but it could be different for different jurisdictions. Since the protocol is completely agnostic to these rules, you are able to, bring in your custom sort of legal requirements, and we are able to like work with you to say, hey, we do have the ability to have more than 99 members. Say, for example, in Switzerland, the criteria to create an investment club is to have 150 members, just an example, right? You can bring that in, and while the UI currently on our platform only limits you to 99, we can work with you to increase that limit if needed. So candidly, this is all you have to choose in order to create a club. And here you just, are accepting some of the disclaimers that to make sure that you're not going to use this vehicle for any malicious purposes and things like that, and not break the law or like make sure that the relevant jurisdiction laws apply to you. I can go ahead and confirm in the wallet. Since I already have a club created, I'm just going to show you what it would potentially look like when you do have a club created. So here is what the admin will see. Right now, this particular club is in active stage. What active stage means is that I have closed deposits to this club, and we have started to invest out of this. For example, what your dashboard would look like is any token, any asset that is tied to this particular wallet address that you have used to create the club will show up on this dashboard. And so for that reason, we generally tell people to choose a Gnosis safe with multiple signers. And for those of you who don't know what Gnosis safe is, it's a multi-sig wallet. What that means is that multiple people can have access to that wallet, which allows you to create some form of like access and some form of, if one of the wallets are wallet of the admin is compromised, how do you swap them out? Some of these like security in place as well. And so we do ask people to use multi-sig wallets, which makes it easy to control the security of it in order to like, process transactions, but also keep your assets clean, right? Like you don't want to use your personal wallet to create this club. So I'm just going to show you just the public wallet information here. As you can see here, you can see all of the assets here, my tokens, my off-chain investments, quote unquote, my collectibles, and all of that here. And currently there are 0 members because I haven't allowed people to deposit assets in here, but usually what you will be able to see is the wallet address from which the deposit came in. We are also working to add ENS and Twitter auth and things like that in the future. And the amount of funds that they've deposited into the club and what it means in terms of ownership stake. And this here will also show all of the club's activities. It's loading a little bit. But here is where you will be able to like categorize based on what each of these transactions were. If you think about it, some of these transactions are uncategorized. If I want to say, hey, actually, this was an investment I made into company A, you can go ahead and assign that as an investment. So everyone in your club knows what exactly happened. And if you actually go into the investments here, where the off-chain investments pop up, here is where I can also add details on what that 0.12 ETH was used for. Perhaps it was used to invest in a company. Let's say it was used to invest in company A. And you want to add some details. The details of that investment could be, a particular round. It could have been a pre-seed round. How much shares did you? I mean, in general, you won't have number of shares for your pre-seed, but if this were to be a Series A, how many shares did you get? Did you get a token warrant for that? And if so, what is the number of tokens you got, right, for your investment? And what does that mean from a fully diluted ownership stake? And all of this information in here, which by the way is only currently viewable or accessible to the fund admins, but you can choose to, in the next few months, you can choose to share that openly with your club members, but not the outside world. And this is a good way of bringing off-chain investments on-chain to some extent, right? It's a record of a particular transaction having taken place. You also have the ability to say, for example, you want to recognize someone's efforts for, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to make some changes here just to show you what is possible. While that transaction is ongoing, I can talk to you about how, if there is a member within your club who cannot essentially like put capital commitments to be part of that club, but can do, for example, due diligence for some of the investments that you're trying to make, you can then go ahead and add that person to this club and give them some form of carry. By the way, this is not at least allowed in the investment club's vehicle setup in US jurisdiction, but it could be different in different parts of the world, right? And so if it is possible in your jurisdiction, you can say, I'm going to give Eugene here about 10,000 club tokens that represents a small percentage of the ownership in this entire club, because he or she was able to do work of relating to marketing efforts or due diligence efforts and stuff like that. And in order to do that, you could just go ahead and mint some club tokens directly to that person's wallet. What this allows you to also do is if a wallet of one of your investors gets compromised, how do you remove that wallet and make sure that they are able to preserve their ownership stake within the club? And that's where the idea of burning those tokens come into play, where you can say this wallet A no longer is part of this club, but wallet B will represent the same ownership stake, and you can transfer those. Only an admin is able to do this. No other member within the club can actually mint or burn or transfer any of these ERC20 tokens, and that is for regulatory reasons, obviously. But it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of like how you can create, sub DAOs, which are maybe some sub DAOs are just with people who bring in capital to invest, and maybe another sub DAO is just for people to bring both capital and contribution into that, or it could be just a pure service DAO, for example, where just the contributions are tracked, right? So we are trying to build in essence, we're trying to build a primitive where you can use this protocol for different kinds of investing vehicles. You can use it for different kinds of just capital flow in general. And there are a lot of use cases to build for. Now you might be wondering, can you do this and such? Yes, all you have to do is just go to app.syndicate.io or just go to syndicate.io and you can get started immediately. A few things to keep in mind as you're thinking about this or thinking about creating a club or interacting with the Syndicate protocol is, you want to have a strategy. What we have seen, with almost 4,000 plus clubs created on our platform is that oftentimes people are excited to create clubs or investing DAOs, and have some idea of what they want to buy or participate in. But overall, the sustainability of those vehicles may fade away. And one of the biggest reasons for that is like people not having clear strategy. Like, for example, with Outliers DAO, they had a very clear strategy of what they wanted to do, right? Like they wanted to support companies, they wanted to support the Web3 ecosystem. And we have other, mission-based collectives where folks want to create investing DAOs to support women entrepreneurs. And so they have a strategy, they have a community that they want to bring into the fold, and they're able to guide their community in the kinds of actions that they can do, and also figure out how to raise capital from that community and do all of this together. And so that is one thing that I would highly recommend as you're thinking about creating a venture DAO or just a simple NFT club, or use this for off-chain to bring off-chain investments on-chain and things like that. Is what is your strategy? What do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to accomplish it with? And what is the time frame in which you want to accomplish that? The other thing I would say, a cool nifty feature that we have is you can actually let me just sign out of this. You can actually just use a demo mode. If you don't want to pay gas fees and create a club, you could just switch over to demo mode and sort of play around with our tool, get a better understanding of what you want to do, and figure out as a club admin, do you want legal agreement signing capabilities within this flow or not? Do you want to create an off-chain legal entity or not? And things like that. And you could always like connect a demo wallet and see how will these assets be viewed. Is this a good dashboard for your community? What else you may want to add to this in your Discord channels and other means? And how do you want to do governance and things like that, right? Like it gives you a better understanding of what you can use Syndicate for. The last thing I would say, and I want to give some time for folks to ask questions, is we have a lot of resources. We have a massive gift book explaining to you what Syndicate is, what is an investment club, what can you do, how can you create a legal entity if needed. By the way, a legal entity is not needed for all kinds of clubs. For example, if you only want to buy public tokens and publicly available NFTs, at least within our current system, you don't have to create a legal entity. But for liability reasons, maybe you choose to create a legal entity, right? But when you go into investing in equity and private investments like that, you do need a legal entity, at least in our jurisdiction. So things like that is worth thinking about early on. And there are some questions in here that you may want to think about as well, and ask us as well in terms of how you can participate, what you can do, and things like that. We are actually in the process of trying to translate this to a few different international languages. And we are looking to, support our Asian community. And so hopefully in the next month or so, we will have one that's translated into Chinese and a couple other languages as well, because our Chinese customer base is incredibly important to us. And we are also in the process of, over time, figuring out how can we support folks to come together to find out other like-minded, people who are creating DAOs on our platform. Also, perhaps as a way for folks to find advisors through our platform and things like that. But all of that is in our pipeline to figure out. I'll stop there. I'm sure I did not capture everything that Syndicate is, but I would like to give some time to the folks to ask some questions.